Welcome to the Scholasticum. This is Brother Alexis Bugnolo, President of the Institute. Many of our prospective students wonder what we teach at the Scholasticum and how useful or important it is for the formation of a Catholic mind. Our textbook is the 4 books of sentences of Master Peter Lombard, and we teach them according to the commentaries of Bonaventure and St. Thomas Aquinas. This year we had our first course, Bonaventure's commentary on the first book of Master Peter Lombard. Peter Lombard is one of the great writers of Western civilization. His 4 books of sentences began an entire tradition of philosophical and theological analysis of patristic texts, which culminated in the great writings of St. Thomas and St. Bonaventure and led to the scientific development of the method of theology. But to get a taste of how great Lombard is and how his writings are timeless, I want to, in this short video, read to you Master Peter Lombard's prologue to his first book of sentences, which he wrote at a time in which, at the University of Paris, men had begun to use learning against the faith. And the problems Lombard ran into and critiqued in his own age are timeless because they've been cropping up ever since. So without more ado, I'll read my English translation of the prologue to Master Peter's first book of sentences from my translation of Bonaventure's commentary on the first book of sentences, and you can get this book at franciscan-archive.org. I'll put a link in the notes to this video. And this was our textbook of the course on the One and Triune God. The prologue of the Master to the books of the sentences. Desiring with the poor woman to place something of our penury and meagerness into the guardhouse of the Lord's treasury, and to scale its steep steps, we have presumed to do a work beyond our strength, placing our trust in its consummation and recompense in the Samaritan's labors, who, having offered 2 denarii to care for the half-alive man, profess to render the rest to the one spending the more. The truth of the one proffering delights us, but the immensity of the labor frightens. The desire of making progress exhorts, but the infirmity of failing discourages, which infirmity zeal for the house of God conquers. Catching fire from this zeal, our faith against the errors of carnal and animal men, we have studied to wall with the round shields of the Tower of David, or to show rather that it is walled, and to open those things withdrawn from theological inquiries, and also to put on display the knowledge of ecclesiastical sacraments to the limited extent of our understanding. Not prevailing to resist lawfully the resolute wishes of our studious brothers, to serve the laudable studies in Christ of those entreating us with tongue and stylus, which as a 2-horsed chariot in us the charity of Christ puts in motion. Although we do not dispute that every sermon of human speech has always been obnoxious to the calumny and contradiction of rivals, because with dissenting movements of wills, the sensing of spirits also becomes dissenting. So that although every saying of truth is perfected by reason, however, so long as different things appear or please different ones, the error of impiety strives against the truth, which is either not understood and or offending. And there results envy of will, which the God of this age works in those sons of diffidence who do not subject their will to reason, nor expend their study on doctrine, but strive to adapt the words of wisdom with those things for which they are dreaming, seeking not a reason for truth but for pleasure, whom an iniquitous will incites, not towards the understanding of the truth, but to the defense of pleasant things, not desiring to be taught the truth, but converting themselves away from it towards the hearing of fables, whose profession is more a pleasantry than a seeking out of things to be taught, and not a desiring of things to be taught, but an adapting of doctrine with things desired. They have a reason for their wisdom in superstition, because mendacious hypocrisy follows defection from the faith, so that even in their words there is a piety which has lost its conscience, and they render that simulated piety impious with every mendacity of words, contriving to corrupt the sanctity of the faith with the instructions of false doctrine, and forcing upon others an itching of the ears under the novel dogma of their own desire, who as students of contention war without the restraint of treaties against the truth. For indeed between the assertion of truth and the defense of pleasure there is a persistent battle, so long as both the truth holds fast and the will for error guards itself. Therefore, lest they be able to pour forth the venom of their iniquity upon others, to both turn the church into something hateful to God, and to stop up mouths of these her sons, we, willing to exalt the light of the truth upon a candlestick, in much labor and sweat, with God as our surety, have compiled this volume distinguished in 4 books, from the testimonies of the truth, founded in eternity, in which you shall again find examples and doctrine of our elders, and in which we have brought to light, through a sincere profession of faith in the Lord, the fraudulence of the viper's doctrine, have embraced an approach for demonstrating the truth, and have not inserted the danger of an impious profession, using a temperate means of guidance among both. But if our voice has sounded out a little anywhere, it has not departed from the limits of the fathers. Therefore, this labor ought not seem superfluous to anyone learned sluggishly or much, since for the many diligent and the many unlearned, among whom even for myself it is necessary that one compile the sentences of the fathers in a brief volume, with their appropriate testimonies, so that it is not necessary for one to seek to unroll numerous books, for whom a brief collection offers what is sought without labor. Moreover, in this tract I not only desire the pious reader, but also the free corrector, most of all where a profound question of the truth is dealt with, which, one would wish, would have as many discoverers as it has contradictors. Moreover, so that what is sought may more easily come to meet the reader, we have placed beforehand the titles by which the chapters of each of the books are distinguished. And here ends the prologue of Master Peter, and there follows his list of the questions he will treat in his book, which is rather lengthy, but you can read it in your own copy if you get a copy of Bonaventure's commentaries on the first book of sentences, the book 1 on the one and triune God, Franciscan-archive.org, and this was the textbook in our course on the one and triune God. And this gives you an idea of what we study and why we study at the Scholasticum, and why we believe at the Scholasticum is the spearhead for the restoration of Christianity and the restoration of the Church. So I encourage you to consider becoming a student at Scholasticum in our courses in the future. And if you'd like to be a benefactor, come to our donate page at our website, studium-scholasticum.org. Make a generous donation so that we can have a brick-and-mortar institute at Bagnoregio and become the leading theologic and philosophic faculty in the world for Catholics. God bless you. Pace bene.